Let me tell you something. When survivors have to beg Congress to do the bare minimum and tell the truth, when grown adults in DC gotta be reminded to protect the kids, that tells you everything about where our country is right now. This week ain't just another vote, it's a moral x-ray. We find out about who stands up for the survivors and who doesn't, who's scared of what's in those damn Epstein files. So let's break it down clip by clip, because what's happening on Capitol Hill right now is bigger than just politics. It's about power, secrets, and the victims who refuse to be erased. Let's roll the clip.
We begin this hour with the most anticipated vote this week in Congress as the House decides whether to force the Justice Department to release all of its files regarding convicted child sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. It will be a moment when all 433 sitting members of the House will need to go on record with where they stand on this issue. For Republican lawmakers, Donald Trump will be watching closely. But so will Epstein survivors, some of whom are planning to be at the Capitol ahead of the vote.
This is where the truth comes out. Every single person in that House chamber gotta hit yes or no. There's no hiding behind the party. There's no hiding behind talking points. And what makes this so real, survivors, not pundits, not politicians, survivors are watching. They're showing up in DC in person. That's pressure. You can't spin your way out of that. And notice how they say 433 members. That means people can't split out the side door. We about to see who stands with the survivors and who stands with the secrets.
Friday, a group of survivors released a letter to Congress, writing in part, "Several weeks ago, when a few brave survivors stood before you and recounted their harrowing stories, many of you were shaken to your core. We urge you, when you cast your vote, please do not forget the horror you felt that day. There is no middle ground here. There is no hiding behind party affiliation. The testimonies you heard are just a fraction of the unimaginable suffering endured by more than 1,000 victims alike. As you gather with your family this season, remember that your primary duty is to your constituents. Look into the eyes of your children, your sisters, your mothers, and your aunts. Imagine if they had been preyed upon. Imagine if you yourself were a survivor. What would you want for them? What would you want for yourself? When you vote, we will remember your decision at the ballot box."
Wow, that letter hits different. This ain't politics. This is pain speaking. This is thousands of survivors saying, don't you dare look away from what we lived through. And what they said, that is the line of the whole story. There is no middle ground. You either believe in protecting children or you don't. Survivors shouldn't have to beg the most powerful people in America to take sexual abuse seriously. They shouldn't have to relive trauma just to get transparency, something the government should have done years ago. This vote ain't about parties. It's about whether the people in Congress even have a soul.
We want transparency. We want to touch base and reach out to all the members of Congress. We want to show our support not only for the members of Congress who courageously are on our side, who are starting to ask questions, who are signing the discharge petition and now signing the Transparency Act bill. We intend to come to the Capitol to reinforce our agenda, to let America see us united again, to keep on this journey of demanding transparency, and to just keep letting the world and reminding the world as well as members of Congress that, hey, listen, we're still here. We're here. We're ready. Let's do this. Let's get all the transparency that we've been asking for. Let's get that out on the table. Let's come together and support each other and get some things done in Washington.
Haley Robson. She's not just talking. She's carrying scars. When she says, we're still here, that's strength you just can't measure. And survivors showing up to the Capitol, that's not a photo op. That's a warning shot. She's reminding Congress, we are watching you. The whole country is watching with us. And look how calm she is. You can hear the pain, but also the determination. Survivors shouldn't have to go to war for truth. But since the system has failed them, they're forcing the system to face them.
I just have to say to Haley and to all the survivors, that is the single most powerful thing that can happen right now, is for them to be in people's faces with their courage, with their bravery. Thank you, Haley. Thank you to all the survivors, because you have to be able to look at yourself in the mirror. You have to be able to listen to these stories and then say that you are not going to vote to, to expose the pedophiles and the rich and powerful people that were part of this massive, horrific, exploitative ring of sexual predators. And I think that for the Republicans that are not going to vote yes on this, and I don't know how many of them there are, but they are absolutely going to have to talk to their own people, because this isn't just a Democratic issue. This is not a Republican issue. This is really across the board. Do you want to protect children? Do you want to protect the people out there that have been abused by this ring? Or do you want to actually expose and be transparent about everything that has happened?
Jayapal cut through all the political fog right there. You don't need a think tank. You don't need a study. Are you protecting children or protecting predators? It's that simple. Not left versus right, not blue versus red. This is humanity versus monsters. And the wild part, a lot of these Republicans ran on releasing the Epstein files. They were loud about it when it was safe and convenient. But now that Trump is backpedaling, you see some of them getting quiet real quick. This vote is going to expose the ones who only care what benefits them and the ones who actually stand on principle.
I understand the predicament he's in. I try to understand. I try to be compassionate. I try to be patient. But we are now decades into this, where the survivors have been begging and asking and pleading with not just the politicians, but the public to please help us understand what we went through and try to support and help us get to some type of resolve. And, if I could sit down with President Trump, it would be to look at him and say, where did we go wrong? Who owns you? What happened from last year to now? What event or what person or what influence changed the fact that you campaigned in 2024 on releasing the Epstein files? And how do we get back to the person I voted for and put in office? Because I feel extremely betrayed. And a lot of this that I'm enduring and the other survivors are enduring with the gaslighting and the, playing both sides of the fence. And, 1 minute you want to release the files, the next minute it's no, we absolutely cannot do that. You have to understand, for the survivors, it's very confusing when there's no explanation or resolve. And of course, at that point now, our conspiracies and our opinions are starting to change vastly, because now we're like, well, you've been saying that you're not involved. And, for the most part, we haven't seen anything directly linking you to, abusing any of us specifically. I just don't understand, at what point do you not make yourself look guilty? Because at the end of the day, all he is doing is making himself look like he is guilty of something. And it's not okay. We don't like what's going on. We want to help and change the dynamic of being on the right side of things. I think Jay Appel said it so beautifully. It is no room in society for pedophilia. We shall not be protecting pedophilia, whether it's a lower middle class perpetrator or somebody who has the status and wealth and connections like Jeffrey did. It is intolerable. What happened to this country? What happened to protecting the children?
This is where the whole thing gets real. This ain't a Democrat criticizing Trump. This is a survivor who voted for him. And she's saying what a lot of these folks are thinking. How you go from release the files to this is all a hoax, to running interference and calling off transparency. You can't play both sides when it comes to protecting victims. You can't say you're taking pedophilia seriously while blocking the very documents that expose the pedophiles. Her asking what happened is the question the entire country is asking. You don't flip like that unless somebody got influence over you, or you're scared of what's actually in those files.
I will say that I do have regret. I feel betrayed by my own party. And it goes beyond just the fact that he's involved in the files or has been named in the Epstein files, whether he's complicit or actively involved. The point that we're trying to make as survivors is we still don't know who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. And this is problematic for us. And by the release of all the Epstein files, it will vindicate those who need to be vindicated, and it's going to serve indictments to those who need to be indicted. And we need those transparency. We need those files, resolved. We need them displayed for the public and displayed to the survivors so we can have closure, so we understand what was done. And so not just us, but Congress and the entire world can see who the bad guys are and who the good guys are. Because right now, I think what we're dealing with is the dribble and drizzle of information that is clouding the real base of the story, which is identifying the perpetrators and the victims.
This is heartbreaking, man. She voted with hope. She voted thinking someone finally cared about what she went through. And now she's realizing the people she trusted might be protecting the very system that hurt her. When she says, we don't know who the good guys are and who the bad guys are, that's the whole story right there. This is why transparency matters. This is why survivors are fighting. They're tired of whispers, rumors, cover-ups, and powerful people hiding behind lawyers and titles. Release the damn files. Expose the truth. Let the chips fall where they fall. And if someone is innocent, great. If someone is guilty, it's time to face consequences. That's just justice. It's supposed to be America. I mean, at least I thought it was. This vote is going to tell us everything we need to know about the integrity of Congress and the integrity of anybody still trying to hide the truth. Survivors aren't asking for sympathy. They're asking for clarity and justice. Keeping these files sealed only protects the wrong people. And if you're scared of transparency, that says a whole lot more about you than it even says about Epstein. Now, this is Hood Politics, and if you want the truth with no sugarcoating, hit that subscribe button and share this video. Make sure you like it too. We're going to keep shining light on what folks in power hope stay in the dark. We don't do left or right, Democrat or Republican. It's right or wrong around here. This is Hood Politics. Hope to see you next time. Peace.